Welcome to Movie to Beer, everybody. This is Dan bringing us in, and we have a really cool family movie that we watched and some great beers, but we also have three wonderful friends that we have watching it along with us today.
I'm Aaron. I'm your celebrity crush expert.
Ooh.
I'm Blake. I'm your thinking movies from 1995, and it's actually not expert.
And I'm Brian. I'm expert in nothing.
And you can be an expert in everything because there's a lot of really good production value in this very cheaply made film called Bend It Like Beckham.
Bend It Like Beckham.
We watched it because Aaron was inspired by something, and he was like, "Oh yeah, hey, we should watch this again because we've all seen it before."
No,
except for
nope, never seen it.
Two people haven't seen it, but I've
Half
seen
of
it
us.
before.
Half of us has seen it.
This movie basically breaks it down to
Bend it like David Gray.
For those that aren't British Premier Soccer League fans, David Beckham played for many, many years, and he also played here in the U.S. in MLS for a very short period of time.
He now owns the team in Miami.
Correct.
Soccer royalty.
Yeah, he has a lot of money, and he was married to one of the Spice Girls. Posh Spice.
Yeah.
Victoria Beckham, as her official name is and has been for quite a while. Mm-hmm. He is the namesake of the main character's crush. Jess has her celebrity crush as a Sikh young Indian woman, really wants to play football, and I'm talking soccer, not football, American crap. I'm talking.
Please, Daniel, it's called footy.
Footy.
Real fans get it.
They do get it. The mother and the daughter
I'm going to hit a grand slam.
Almost come to blows quite a few times. The mom is overbearing and wants her to do what mom did, and she's like, I won't play football.
How dare you dream of having a better life than me?
I know. And the father started out that way, like, oh, I'll support you, and then turned his back on her and then came back around because he was like, I saw you play, and you're actually really damn good.
I like that. I mean, this film balances kind of like a character is navigating two different cultures.
Yes.
And, there's some movies I think that do a really good job of kind of exploring what it's like to not really feel like you belong in like their culture of family origin and also not belong in where you live.
And the
kind of being an
dominant culture
in-betweener.
where you are.
Yeah, the dominant culture where you are. Thank you, Brian.
The parents moved from Africa. They didn't even move from India.
Nairobi. I caught that. Yeah.
And both the parents work at the Heathrow Airport, and they have jobs. And lots of planes go overhead because they live near the airport.
Kind of a repeating theme of planes taking off and landing.
Yes, which is sort of a segue to what happens in the movie where you have somebody making decisions that's going to change their career and change their life and change their passion or pursue their passion. And airplanes do that for people.
Somebody taking off. And
this is a movie about traveling from your place of origin to your place of destiny, perhaps.
Yeah.
Destiny.
So we're also following Jules, the British-born soccer player who gets Jess on the team.
The co-lesbian soccer player.
They're not lesbians.
It's really, that's the joke, because all the parents think they are because they hug and kiss. Like their cheeks each other on the.
In their defense, the one family thought Jess was kissing a boy because Jules has short hair.
Yes. And then they found out it was a girl, and that made it even worse. Again,
although it led to some really funny moments with Jules' mom, trying to accept her, just explaining, well, I mean, you don't have to be gay. And she's explaining, it's not that big a deal. Like, even if I was, who cares?
I feel like, though, I mean, that's one way this movie felt a little dated for me. Like 2002, there was still, I think, a conversation about, gay marriage or, being gay or lesbian. LGBTQ was I think, just LGBT at that point.
LGBT.
Right? Yeah, so, I don't know. That seemed a little awkward watching it now. I mean, I could still understand, and remember that's what that time was.
I mean, I really enjoyed this movie, but it did kind of jump from scene to scene really quick. There was at least 8 to 9 montages minimum. Just
like music montage,
shopping montage.
The 1990s called, and they want their montages back.
God, I loved it.
It was like a music video or a commercial on TV.
Yeah, the music was great though.
Oh yeah,
I will say the music it was fantastic because there was like
it was fun and exuberant, and that was kind of the spirit of the film overall. I mean, it definitely had its filmic arc where you have to have hills and valleys, so you can climb back up to the top.
But the music selection did represent, I think, kind of like this multicultural approach, because there was Al Green, and then there was like Hindustani like pop that I could never identify.
Yeah.
There's maybe some,
and there was a Pakistani hip hop bit. I mean, it was definitely reminiscent of a Bollywood film in a way.
Yeah, it felt very Bollywood like.
Especially
but they also had Blondie, right?
Yeah.
So it mixed a number of different genres because they wanted to represent the British side of it, where they're in London and she plays soccer with the boys in the park, and she then, hey, why don't you come play for my team? For those that don't understand how soccer is in England, it's like baseball here in America. There are so many different levels and leagues of play, intramural play, that you can go play for a sponsored team or a farm team or a club that's under the wing of a bigger team. Just they get their funding from somewhere else, and hey, they at least have a kit that they wear, and they won the championship of their league. Was the final match that she played in. That was kind of it was set up to that.
The one time we knew the score was when they had that last game during the wedding, and you see the coach do like the 1-1, and then they made another goal, so presumably 1-2.
Correct.
We never saw a scoreboard.
No, you didn't.
Unlike a lot of football sports movies, they always show what the score is with like either country, blues, or pop country, or like sort of newish rock music blasting.
Yeah, and the clock is counting
Always
down
ticking,
to the
yeah.
final.
Yeah.
You got to get this goal to win.
Yep.
I don't think Bend It Like Beckham needed to add scores for like. It didn't need that to heighten the tension. Like there was already like dramatic reasons why we were invested in the characters.
And let's also say this really wasn't a sports movie.
Nah.
The sports was kind of the background,
background
that
to
they hang the story on. Which, as we were saying before, it's kind of a rom-com, but it's a
Slash coming of age.
a friendship.
I mean, it was really
And
fun.
exploring of different cultures.
Being a season ticket holder of the Portland Timbers, I go to a lot of soccer matches, and our friend Aaron here also is a huge soccer fan and loves it and knows probably more about it than I do.
Minnesota United until I die.
Something like that. So we were out the other day and we stopped at Mayfly to get some drinks, and then we were like, hey, let's just pick some beers to go with it. And there was a couple breweries that are fairly new in the area / region. And we picked some beers out to go with those. And I was really super happy to find a couple just randomly that also went sort of with the film. But we're not going to get into those quite yet. But I'm just mentioning that you really want to have, because this is an hour 45, hour 50 minute. It's a pretty long film.
They put a lot of story into this movie, and the movie's a decent length for, typically rom-coms are kept out at 90, at least the bad ones.
Yeah.
Because it's a formula of every 30 minutes stuff happens.
And there was a first part and a second part. The first beer that we had went really well with the first part, and the second part was a little bit more bitter. There was acting that was like, oh my God, that what happened in the film, it was made the characters really bitter towards each other, and things were said, and it's like, okay, well, bitterness goes well with that. It's like, oh wow, I'm tasting really bitterness and I'm seeing it on the screen. It works really well together. It's the mother really wants to teach the daughters how to cook a full Indian meal, and she said, well, I'm punishing you by having to teach you the vegetarian and then the meat one.
Vegetarian
Like
there's
a completely different set of rules.
It all looked
and
delicious. I was hungry this entire movie.
There
and
was
I
a
ate
lot
dinner
of
before I
food.
came over here.
There was a lot
There
of
was
food.
a lot of food being shown in this movie, which is also
food. That's such an important cultural identity. Yeah, and so how could you make a cultural film or a film about being torn between cultures without showing an English pub? And
they showed him burning those corn cobs in the background that one scene.
Yeah.
The grill going, no one tending to it.
No one tending to it, and the food was cooking.
And the pub had a guy smoking a cigarette.
I was thinking the two protagonists getting a beer at a classic English pub or classic British
I was
pub.
waiting for it. I was waiting for all those mashed peas
and then they went out to Germany
Scotch egg.
and they lost in Germany, right?
Because they were fighting.
Because they fought and got red carded.
I thought they were fighting afterwards.
No, it was.
I swear I watched this movie. I just apparently absorbed none of it.
There are some soccer scenes.
Just the themes.
They play a bunch of matches over the course of a season. So the film probably
In
takes
montage.
In montage. It takes probably about 6 months in real life to cover the amount of soccer team matches that they played and growth of the characters. And then the older sister who you thought was going to help her out and hook her up totally threw her under the bus multiple times, and it's like, wow, who needs a sister like you?
She helped briefly earlier on the film.
Yeah, what I'm saying. She
thought she
her.
could get something out of it. The siblings are, what is it? It's savage.
Rivalry.
Savage.
There's a rivalry there.
Yes.
There definitely is.
Yeah.
I don't have that with my siblings. They just hate me, so it's all.
There's a rivalry like Batman the Joker and Bend It Like Batman.
No, the rival is two sisters that are they love each other, but boy, wow, yeah.
And the funny thing is so they both part of the story, the plot driving utility being used is both of the kids, and every kid does this, lies to their parents when they hit that teenage and 18 to 20 something, if they don't want mom and dad to tell them what to do, they're going to do what they want to do, and they're doing what they want to do. And it's an arranged marriage versus a love marriage, or who knows what's going to happen in that culture. And of course, I know at least some of us have been watching Miss Marvel, which really is a great representation.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Of Pakistani culture, and the simple fact that there's so much food and family. It's like it's all interrelated, and everybody talks about everybody. And the mother in the film actually says, she couldn't go into the temple because the daughter had done something. She was so ashamed on her family. And it's like, well, I couldn't imagine that for myself, but for them, that's reality.
We in the States, we like to think we're family oriented, like we have quote unquote family values, but like there are other cultures that take family relationships and family obligation way more seriously than we do. Like there are cultures where if your dad forbids you to take a certain job, you don't do it. Or like if you're a mom and your daughter does something, you don't go to temple. Like and that's so foreign to us in our culture. It's like I as an individual, I didn't do anything. I'm not responsible.
I don't know what you're talking about, Aaron. I only drove 3,000 miles away from where I grew up. I couldn't possibly understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You abandon your family.
Sure did,
to
buddy.
earn and learn and adopt a new one over here.
But this film, it does a really good job of kind of probing that space where everybody, as part of adolescence, you establish your own identity. You kind of separate yourself from your parents, and that's painful. That's painful for your parents. That's painful to do.
It wasn't painful for mine.
Well, you're lucky then, Dan. But
Dan's brooding currently with the hood over his head,
listening to a lot of emo.
Yes.
Slow sipping a cigarillo in a cup of whiskey, maybe.
But there is this period of time where everybody's like they set boundaries, they push the envelope, they figure out who they are, and inevitably there are some parental dreams and hopes for what their kid is going to become. They get dashed in that process,
right?
And inevitably there's some discomfort for the kid in like these parental expectations of become a doctor, become a lawyer, or marry an Indian boy, or whatever, and you have to. You have to navigate that. This movie, I think, does it shows a bit of that. And I think it does a nice job with that sort of journey.
The film was made for a fairly low budget.
They filmed it for $6 million and made $76.5 million.
Yeah, a lot of as we have someone who's experienced in doing filmmaking and has at least education related to it more than us.
Is that Aaron?
I don't know. Cinematography was simplistic, straightforward. The storytelling, it was all character driven and not background. The background was the stage upon which the actors portrayed this wonderful story.
It was all practical locations. I think a lot of the scenes were shot in daylight.
Yeah.
So there was no lighting. There was no big grip trucks.
Yeah, I think there was 2 night scenes, not counting the club.
Yeah, I mean,
even those were short shots.
There were interiors, but they were locations. They weren't sets. They were people's houses. Fairly straightforward. No CG. Nothing like that.
Nothing. Other than the sportscasters at the beginning, they showed the green screen during the credits. They do a credit. They sing a song, like they do shots where people are singing the song and they're all taking their turn singing it.
Hot.
Well, they got like Gary Lineker. They got like actual like
professional sports people
get involved, which is really cool.
But the sports booth is an easy setup. I mean that's just a sound stage at your local TV station.
But they had like the real announcers though.
Yeah.
Is like what I mean.
Well, I mean they paid out money to some real people.
It wasn't hard for them to do the lines.
But
probably.
I mean the stars were, even though it's Keira Knightley and Jonathan Rhys-Davies, they were not big hits in 2002.
True.
I mean, this was. We looked at Keira Knightley's IMDb page, and this was
way back in the beginning.
Way back in the beginning. This was the 12th film she'd done. I had only heard of 2 of the other ones, and she played bit parts in those 2. So this was her first starring role, I believe.
think my introduction to Keira Knightley, I think, was Garden State, which started like this 20-year celebrity crush. Speaking of celebrity crush.
She's in Garden State?
Yeah, wasn't she? No, that's Natalie Portman. Oh my
God.
God.
I caught him.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, Aaron.
So
retire.
We also
Aaron's not invited back to the podcast ever again.
No, we just have to watch Garden State next time.
We noticed
Natalie Portman. She's also a celebrity crush. It's like the New Jersey one or the UK one.
The Professional.
Yes, New Jersey, the UK of America.
It's Jersey or New Jersey.
So the Bechdel test or whatever it is, it's called
The Bechdel test.
Bechdel test. So it's female co-writer, female directed, female leads,
Triple F rated.
triple F rated. The characters talk amongst themselves to each other about non-male things. So if you want to say this is an empowering film for your teenage daughters, you can really, I think this is appropriate because there's there is some side boob action at the club in Germany, but it's not really.
That's only because Keira Knightley's wearing a handkerchief.
Yeah, pretty much.
As I think Brian said, hanky. It's like, this is, that is. I don't have kids, and I'm not going to. But I saw she should be wearing more layers.
And there's also some soccer locker room, female locker room stuff. But I didn't feel like it was necessarily exploitive.
No, it wasn't gratuitous
or gratuitous. It was just
that was their environment. That's what they were doing.
That's what they were doing. You're an athlete. Of course you're in a locker room, and of course you're not going to wear sweaty saris home.
No,
but our protagonist did have an adjustment getting used to that, like that locker room environment that we all take for granted.
Right.
She was getting used to like changing in front of other people. Like in the first game she played, she put her on her uniform and then like changed out of her stuff underneath the uniform so that like other girls wouldn't see her sports bra. Like, there's a different attitude to bodies and modesty.
Actually, the scar is a legitimate scar. And that story she tells about the beans and toast is her life story.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to her, and they worked that into the
I didn't
script.
know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the actress has...
That was a big... Because they had that scene where she's like, I don't want people seeing my scar. Like, you don't care.
She's sitting there. The shorts that they wear were a little shorter than what she was used to wearing out in the park playing with the guys. It's not surprising. A lot of athletes have that personal, like, I don't feel like I'm up to, and the father was that way. It's like, I got kicked off the team because I was of a different race.
Because I was
rejection
and she
sensitivity.
feared that rejection so hard. And then the coach is like, oh no, I got the same scar. I'm like, dude, I got scars all over too. I'm like, I hear you, girl. I'm like, it's embarrassing, but you know what? Once you get past that, you can do anything. Because once that fear has been eliminated, you can really just live your life free.
I don't know. I think a confident person with scars, like there's an attractiveness to that because it's like they had some event, they healed, and they've moved on. Like that demonstrates resilience. I think that's a good thing.
Well, if you've got a scar, you've got a story.
Yes, you do. You do. Scars are sexy. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Somebody at the table here has a wonderful scar, which we need to get tattooed with the thread and needle.
I'm trying to make an actual point. You guys won't let me because I keep doing that bit.
Scars are hot.
Scars
they are hot, but the coach makes the best point in that he asks, does it keep you from playing? And she goes, no. He's like, well, then you're fine. But no, he makes the point about, can you not play with that? Does it keep you from playing? No, then go for it because his knees jacked from playing. Like he can't actively play anymore.
Well, and it was a good contrast of his story. His parents were pushing him, and he had pressure for trying to perform, and that's how his injury happened. Versus the main protagonist, Jacindra, her parents are trying to push her away, prevent her. But it's still the same parental interference.
I like that you mentioned pressure because if you drink too much beer, it puts pressure on your bladder. And we drank beers during this movie, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I want to drill down on that for just a second.
Let's go there.
Into the bladder?
No, because, this was both a culturally aware film.
Yes.
And also a...
feminist film.
And an LGBT before T film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the same question applies. Does your race preclude you from excelling, from playing?
No, I might.
Does your sexual preference preclude you from excelling at your dream?
Brian, three of us are straight white males. We can do whatever we want, basically.
Well, I grew up in a very conservative, very religious household. And like it and
well,
Blake, let me
I'm talking about the message of the film, not my personal
what I'm going to say, like I can sort of I don't know, but I imagine what our protagonist is experiencing because everything, like even the clothes you wear like baggy clothes to like not draw attention to your body because bodies are
they're sacred.
Well, that's how they.
You're not supposed to be letting boys touch your bare leg.
Well, that's how they say it, but it's also like you should be ashamed of your body. You should downplay any sexual desire or anything that physically is pleasurable because that distracts you from this like other stuff, conservative lifestyle or tradition or spiritual.
Nice Indian girls shouldn't show their bare legs to strangers.
Yes, that mentality. Thank you, Dan.
And that was repeated a few times in the film. I mean, come on.
And so like that that is a real obstacle if you're in a family like that. If you have to choose your family or soccer, like that is a real obstacle. Like there's nothing about, being any ethnicity or background that prevents you from being able to play, but there might be things in your family history that could be things you have to navigate.
Yes.
So I do think there's that.
Are we drilling far enough?
Yeah.
This root canal is going on too long.
It is.
All right.
We're
talk
hitting-
about beer.
We need to
Bend it like beer.
Take a pause and talk about beer for a moment. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody. So this is Moving to Beer, and we're talking about Bend It Like Beckham with our three wonderful friends. And we've digressed a little bit about the film and talking about cultural appropriation, as well as cultural exception and acceptance, and letting your teenage and post-teenage daughter do what they want to do instead of being an overbearing mother. So we bought 2 beers at Mayfly, which is a tap house that's up in the Kenton neighborhood.
Yeah. Is it on Lombard?
Actually, it's not on Lombard. It's
Jeez.
all right. We bought the 2 beers up at Mayfly, which is
just
a tap
Google
room.
Mayfly. I only because I got confused for a second.
It's
like,
up on
goes
Interstate
on?
Avenue, not Lombard. Yeah, it's up on Interstate. They've been around for a couple of years.
Terrific tap house. A lot of canned beers, wine.
Really friendly people that work there, and it's all neighborhoody.
Very cool.
And so the 2 beers that we had was a Helles from Living Häus called Bethany Helles, and then Kings and Daughters, which is called Wildflowers Italian Pilsner.
Which,
So-
considering how the relationship between the dad and the daughter, maybe a king and daughter
Something
vibe
like
there.
that. So we were sitting there and we're drinking and we're like, well, let's pick some beers out. And these were 2 breweries that are fairly new on the scene. Kings and Daughters has been around for a year or 2. They originally were out of Hood River, and I believe they have brewing production in Clackamas here, right outside of Portland. But the Living Häus just literally opened. And this was, I believe, a brewer that worked at Modern Times Brewing, which was out of the Belmont Fermentorium in Southeast. It's a big chain. They had a bunch of locations, and then they closed because they spent too much money and they couldn't afford to keep them all open.
They could not bend it like Beckham.
They could not bend it like Beckham.
They grew too fast.
They grew way too fast. They put too much money out there, and COVID hit, and it kind of cost them their
That's a
locations.
bummer. This first beer, my literal quote was, "This is a great beer. I would love to drink soccer and watch beer." That's actually what I said as I was drinking them.
We roasted him mercilessly, listeners. Don't you worry.
So
right.
the Bethany Helles Living Häus Brew Company, our beer company, down in 6 in Belmont Southeast. It's a 4.5 ABV. They don't say what the IBUs are, but the can, surprisingly enough, somebody mentioned this. It kind of looks like a henna tattoo. The really interesting floral and
kind of botanical repeating
design on
motifs.
it.
Yeah.
I totally
It's a cool can.
spaced that off, and that kind of goes with the film because it's that kind of traditional design and.
Kind
But
of.
it was like easy drinking, kind of a hot day. If you're watching a sporting event, that'd be a great beer to
I
enjoy
call it a
with
wet crackery chew with a little bit of floral on it.
a bit of floral, a little sweet,
It's a little sweet. There's a little acidity on the mid back that kind of pops up, but it's not offensive.
It's a nice beer. I liked it. I was happy to drink it and watch soccer. Honestly,
It is. It's a really good. So Helles traditionally are going to be similar to Pilsners, but they're going to be a little bit sweeter, and so that's really falls into the same character and line as the other beer we had. But we'll talk about that in a moment.
So Helles traditionally, my mind immediately goes to Greece, for thinking like Hellenic.
I love
you
that
know.
movie.
But
No,
but it's a German style traditionally, isn't it?
correct.
I was allowing you to expand on
Messing
that.
with you.
You're the one I want.
So it's a Helles lager. It's
Tell us what the word Hellas means in German.
I don't know what Helles means in
Das
German.
Boot.
It's just the name. It's a name of a style. So it's
Isn't that
it's,
light?
Satan.
it's similar to a Pilsner. It
Hellas
uses-
is light.
yes.
Okay.
Oh, so it's a lighter. Makes
It's
sense.
a lighter Pilsner, basically. You don't use as much malt. The malt that they use tend to be a little more chewy and not crackery, thin, dry. They tend to be sweeter.
So is it like a lighter? They roast the malts, right? So is it like a lighter roast on the malt? So it's
Yes,
not quite
probably.
as caramely,
I-
quite as.
The German word hell can be translated as bright, light, or pale.
Thank you, Blake.
Beep boop, you're welcome. Oh no, they know I'm a robot now.
Yes. And the answer is
Keira Knightley.
Oh, sorry. What is bright, light, or pale?
Keira Knightley is always the answer.
so. I think
Are you sure you don't mean Natalie Portman?
so.
I'm sure.
This first one we drank for about the first half hour, 45 minutes because we opened it right when we
it went
started.
fast too.
These were 4 packs of tall boys, and they were about $4 a pop. So, I mean, they're kind of standard price for locally made beer. The can design's really nice. I want to say that they're doing a really nice job. They had 2 or 3 different beers available in can when we bought these. And literally their brewery, their taproom location just opened up, but they've been doing production for a while because when they took over the space from Modern Times out in Southeast Belmont, everything is in place. They just bought it lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. So Kings and Daughters, which is a brewery that opened originally out in Hood River, they're doing production out in Clackamas, Oregon now. I'm not sure where, but this beer is inspired by a trip to Tuscany that the family made not that long ago, and they wanted to make a beer.
Does it say not that long ago on the can?
It says it was only March.
Yes.
Oh, I was kind of hoping it just said not that long ago to just kind of keep it always like a close trip.
Well, it probably will be. They'll probably keep that same language on the label. So they wanted to do an Italian style Pilsner, but they were using, this uses, and Brian and I both noted when we first drank it, when we first opened it, we're like, oh, this is a lot more hoppy. And it is. It's a very hoppy Pilsner. It uses traditional German hops, but a lot more than you would normally use. So it's a little
Just
hop forward.
fistfuls of hops.
Fistfuls of hops.
Just punching it into the beer.
But
like a fistful of dollars.
It does have, and they say that it uses Hallertau Mittelfrüh and Hallertau Blanc, which are actually pretty, I guess you would say, herbal, but floral also. Italian Pilsners tend to be a little bit more floral. We've had conversations about Italian Pilsners.
I'm so tired of that conversation. It's not fun anymore.
So there's not an official BJCP certification for what Italian Pilsner is, and it's just a floral style of an English or a British style or a German style or any kind of style Pilsner. It just means it's going to be more floral.
We have a friend who's very rules as written when it comes to beer styles, and he hates that. And Dan always tells him about it. And I'm always asking Dan, why?
Pokey. I got to poke him about it because it's like they're putting it on the label. So it's obviously something that exists now because you can't just, well, no, actually.
You can put whatever you want on the label.
Yeah.
Government can't stop me.
They don't care. So this is a 4.8 ABV. Again, they don't have any IBUs listed. It's, again, traditional German hops. I really liked it. It's a lot more, and this is a quote that we said while we were watching. This Pilsner is way more bigger than Keira Knightley is after Jess moved on the coach in the club outside of Germany.
Making moves on her man.
Yep, and that was the end of that friendship.
For a little while.
Well, at least a couple, 15 minutes. She only had a couple glasses of wine, and she had drunk. And, in Germany, the drinking age is 16, so everybody had a glass in their hand, and she was being all pretty, and the coach is like,
they were clubbing.
It doubly sucks because Jules gave her lent her a top or something. Like she gave her clothes.
Yeah. And then it was like this Aztec temple-y looking weird outside.
I was genuinely waiting for Selma Hayek and Cheech Marin to show up and become vampires. I was so stoked.
Don't know. It looked really weird and out of place. I'm like, this set is where is this? I've never what? I don't know. I didn't get it.
With a low budget, probably wherever they were filming everything else.
It was probably still in England because a lot of the film actually, all of it took place in England. I mean, they got on a plane, but that was in Heathrow, and then they showed a plane landing, but who knew?
They showed them on a bus and then getting off of a plane.
Yeah, it was like there were some really interesting time gaps in editing as a film editor or TV picture editor. I don't even know how to describe that. You edit film for a living.
Yes.
What did you think about the editing?
Editor.
What did you think about the editing of this film?
I didn't really pay attention to it, so that means it's good.
It's good.
It doesn't draw attention to it.
I mean,
showing people arrive without seeing the whole plane ride or whatever, that's actually economical. Why show something where nothing happens?
Or the road trip.
And that's actually a good reason for the montages. I mean, clearly it was a style for the time the film was made.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to show the passage of time. Mm-hmm. You don't have to show 15 scenes of them practicing and getting better at soccer. You just show a 30-second montage with a cool rock and roll kid, and you're through it, and you figured out, oh, they got better.
Yeah, and you still listen to Wham. So we had a conversation about the CDs that Keira Knightley had in this plastic wall hanger thingy, and we identified one of them as Garbage.
That was Brian. Brian
identified that.
Love that band.
But then there was also reference to Juicy Juicy Mangoes at some point, but I don't think that was music. I think that was
wasn't music.
Those were breasts. Those were breasts.
But I do think though the flip phone scene For me, it's like everyone got their phone out and it was like either a brick or a flip phone, and everyone's trying to. I think for me, that is going to date this film, and people will look back on that. Kids today are going to see that and be like, "What the hell is that?" Because they're going to have no clue.
Now you can have whatever ringtone you want. It can be completely individualized. But yet back in the day, you got to choose from like 4, and so
And you had to pay $1.99 minimum to get it.
Yeah, they had one free one, and you were stuck with that shit.
right.
At this point, we've talked a bunch about the movie, and we talked some about these beers, which went really, really well. The second half was a little bitter.
Yeah.
Find yourself a bitter beer, a little bitter beer, a little, not a big bitter beer, but a little bitter beer.
I'd say no matter what, if you don't live where you can get these beers, something light, something with a little bit of a kick. No pun intended that time.
Something to turn those little mosquito bites into juicy, juicy mangoes.
These guys.
Dan's being gross. This is a family-friendly film.
This is a family-friendly film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Except for that part.
It was one
But
comment
that
by
wasn't
an auntie.
gross. That was like a...
She's like, they have little pump-up baggies.
There was a cute little family
God.
thing where her sister was saying like, "Oh, make it tire for the fix. That's the style now, isn't it?" And then like, the disparate number difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Every person has like a family situation. As a teenager, every person has experienced a family member embarrass them somehow.
Yep.
And
All
that's
the
exactly what that is.
That's what friends are for.
Well, as an adult, sure, but when you're a teenager, it's your mom.
At this point, I think we talked about we're going to do our beer name rename game. So if you are familiar with IMDb, which is a website that's out there and been around for a really long time, they have movies and TV shows and all kinds of things listed, and you can look up this film. And if you scroll on our webpage, not using an app, but use their webpage, use a browser on your phone if you're going to do it, because you're not going to find them otherwise, or just Google it. Keywords for the film are submitted by users of IMDb and then rated by other IMDb users. And older films tend to have a lot more. The newer ones, not so much. This one has over 300 plot keyword names.
Indeed.
And so we pick a beer and rename it. So which beer do we want to rename, gentlemen?
Let's do the one that has the cool can artwork.
The Living Häus. Okay.
The Wildflowers?
Yes.
Oh,
We're
that
gonna
one.
do the
They
Bethany
both-
Hillis.
They both have cool artwork.
That one's better.
The Wildflowers
Okay.
That's
is
cool.
really
That's better.
minimalistic, But
All
this
right,
looks like a henna tattoo. It looks really cool.
So I'm going to use 2 keywords and combine them into one thing. So I'll tell you, my runner-up for this was going to be beans and toast, but I'm actually going with Pisces Posh Spice.
That's a good one.
That's really funny because I just took the line from the movie. I thought she was a Pisces.
Yeah.
In reference to when they said, oh, she's a lesbian. I thought she was a Pisces.
Brian?
Well, Dan kind of stole my thunder. I was going to call it Juicy, Juicy Mangoes.
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm not going to call it that, but you could call it that, but it doesn't taste like a juicy, juicy mango. So that might be a little misleading.
I say bait and switch them. Make them think they're getting a weird big flavor and they drink it like, oh no, I can't return it now. I've already opened the can.
I'm
It's
gonna
not
I'm gonna
fruity.
keep Portland weird, and we're gonna push the envelope on this one. We're gonna call it Lesbian Kiss.
Ooh, but they're not lesbians.
And that's the whole point. It's not.
Ironic, the most
Isn't it
the most
ironic?
out gay person was a guy.
I know, really. And I called it where the guy was like, her best friend, he comes out to her and he's like, your father says you have to get married before you can go to college. And so he made a bargain with the family and said, I will marry her. I will get engaged, but you have to let her
But then
go
it
wherever she
doesn't
wants.
happen. So it's
But then
not calling it.
It doesn't happen. And then, but I guarantee you that she probably does not hook up with the coach because she's going to find somebody to hook up in the States because, there's
Santa Clara.
more fish to fry.
Yeah.
And they went to Santa Clara. I'm like, that's not
More
a big
fish
soccer
to
school.
fry. How do you hook up with people?
Hold on. This is a plot spoiler on a 20-year-old film.
Yeah.
Just that we were talking about like the end.
Yeah, but no one cares at this point. It's an old movie. People have seen it or not. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But
All right.
And it's enjoyable to watch a second
is.
time,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's a fun film.
It's a fun film.
It's
It's entertaining.
If you have teenagers or you have a teenage daughter and you want to empower them to think that they can overthrow what your desires and wishes are as a parent,
Apparently, a lot
watch
of
this.
female soccer players got inspiration from this movie to go follow their soccer dreams.
What I will say,
According to IMDb.
the ladies Euro tournament is going on right now. The
Yes.
episode, if you're listening to this, the final is probably still coming up in a few days. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch them soccer players because they are really, really talented. I think the
High level of
female
play.
players at that national, international level
High
are
level of play.
way better than the men's teams in
Yeah.
America and in most of the world. Actually, they're really phenomenally
Like
good.
I love MLS, but I like watching these ladies is blowing my mind. They're phenomenally talented, and they work. They must train so hard, and just have so much talent.
And now they're getting paid.
In the States, they're getting paid. Yeah.
Yes, in the rest of the world, not so much. But here in the States, they're getting paid the equal amount. So, or at least
they can bend it like bank accounts.
they can. They're going to bank it like
Beckham.
Beckham. They're going to bank it.
They're
like
gonna bank it like Beckham.
There you go. All right. So, as always, the things that we discussed during the taping of this episode are those.
The
of
opinions.
the opinions are those of the host. Yeah,
It's
I'll
my
get it out
opinion,
there.
damn it.
The opinions expressed during the
can't
taping of
have
this
it.
episode are those of the host and no one else. And we're not getting paid, so we're doing this for fun. So enjoy it.
I was in a fugue state this entire episode. What happened?
And we didn't really drink that much water, but if you don't hydrate,
If you don't hydrate, you're going to dehydrate, and then you kick the ball so it goes around the people and you score. But you have no idea what the score is, but who cares if you win the game?
But when it
Correct.
goes around them, they're really your aunties.
your aunties.
That was amazing.
That
What
was
a
a good.
great
That was a
shot.
good cut. That was a good editing. You know, she's like, my aunties are there. No, screw that. I'm going around them. Yeah. All right. So this is Dan signing out. Thanks for listening and hanging out, everybody. This has been a great episode.
This is Aaron. Thank you for listening.
Bend it like Blakers.
Oh, jeez.
Brian says thank you.